Now, how you understand this term assimilation depends on one's experience as well as one's understanding. When I talk about assimilation, assimilation is not that I get completely involved into the foreign culture and completely get erased from my homeland culture, nor at the same time it is that I maintain a very strict ethnicity of my home culture in a foreign land. I guess the key somewhere lies in that assimilation where you maintain a balance. That's how we talked about yesterday, that multiple identities get created in one person and one learns how to move ahead in life with those multiple identities, because our basic identity can never be erased. We can learn and move ahead and have formation of new identities, but then it is never a strict choice between one identity and the other identity. So I guess assimilation and balance would be the key tool. Thank you.
I may support this. It is the truth that change is a law of nature. And if we fail to change ourselves, surely no culture will survive. Isn't that? Yes. Adaptation.
Sir, the section I want to say, people are facing this challenge of becoming multicultural. They feel tremendous pressure, right? Entire country. In our country, we are not we have dealt with features like caste, class, and we have not really become unified national. Even states are falling apart, right? Based on linguistic unity. And in this case, the very concept of multiculturalness or hybridity is imposed by lone superpower, dominated also from America and its allies. I want to know whether Americans and Europeans also try as hard as ourselves to assimilate Eastern culture and Indian culture. Here we are been striving a lot, right? In our language other than our own.
I have an answer to what he has just said.
Let Pandit sir say something.
Actually, what Dr. Ravindra Masai has said, I fully appreciate it, and that was more than explanatory. I have nothing to say in relation to that, but then to add something to what he has already said. To the best of my knowledge, that article...
America also trying so hard to get the new cultures into its mainstream. Yes, I would like to answer this, that not only we, the third world country, people are trying hard, and globalization is not what we are trying to cope up with the Western philosophy and lifestyle. Yes, America is trying equally hard, and the reason is that every year America invites scholars from different countries, and they run program on a very regular basis as a part of their curriculum, like foreign language teaching program. So people from across the world goes to America and teach their culture. Like I have been a Fulbright scholar, and I worked in University of Pennsylvania as a language and cultural ambassador from India. For 1 year, I taught Hindi, I taught Indian culture along with the other English literature field from where I belong to. So not only I, same way, not just Hindi, like Gujarati, Marathi, Bengali, so many representatives from India and from different parts of the world every year go to America, sponsored by the government, American government, and thus we are spreading our culture there and coming back, of course, enriching from their land. So I guess it's a two-way process, not just a one linear movement we're talking about.
Please understand.
Equality culture exchange, right? We have been trying very hard to be like them, to catch up with them.
No, we're not trying to be like them. We're not trying to be like them.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but...
Good morning to you, sir. My question is concerning your language or race. You said that races or language are not pure. So, may I ask you which one is the oldest language in the world? Is it pure or it is something like hybrid language? I would like to know. This.
I would like to answer this.
Yes, sir.
May I?
Please, my
I would like to answer two questions, in fact, if you allow me. One is addressed to purity of language, and the other one to the question that, the answer that the previous speaker said. So the first thing is, which is the oldest language? Which is the oldest human? As far as research goes, today we find one civilization, we think that is the oldest. And when we find traces of another civilization, which was there much prior to that, we do a carbon dating and we find that it was there prior to that. So, you see, that becomes older. So, when we come to the most modern kind of concept, which is postmodernism, that traces back to the oldest of old and says that nothing is pure. How do we know what language existed then? Do we understand that language? Was it a language that was amalgamation of animal language or something? When you read linguistics, when you read phonetics, you come out with sounds. Language started from nature. So every language has its traces. Like now, we couldn't understand. And what was there prior to Pali? What was there prior to Sanskrit? Is Sanskrit the oldest language? When we look at Sanskrit, we certainly find that Pali is older than Sanskrit. So you see, it is not for us, we cannot determine which is the oldest language. I mean, we can just say that available research says that this is the oldest language on date.
There is nothing absolute about it.
There is nothing absolute.
And history is constructed
Yes.
as Marxists say.
Yeah, exactly.
And it is being constructed in the present itself.
Yes, because postmodernism tells us that. What is history? Whose history? Is that the history of the hegemony? Is it the history of the tribals? And there are different voices taking the same history, a woman's history at that point of time. This brings me back to the young lady's question. When she says that we are taking, America is now accepting languages, accepting cultures. America, as it is, has a lot of crises of its own. So we are only looking at a view from our own standpoint. We stand in India and we are a developing country looking up to America as a big brother. America is constantly looking at its own cultures. It has got the native Indian cultures of different tribes, Cherokee, Navajo, and all those kinds of tribes. They have indigenous cultures, the Eskimos or the Inuits. I'm sorry, I shouldn't say Eskimo, it's politically incorrect. The Inuits, their culture. So America is now trying to bring in their cultures, learn their languages, trying to understand its own culture, because America is a land of settlers. The Indian diaspora there and the other diasporas are as authentic to America as the English diaspora there, or the French, or the Germans, or whoever, the Jews, whoever inhabited. America is just a melting pot. And so, the cultural transaction that goes on between India and America is something that is not unique to America. Maybe we are looking at it from our own standpoint and thinking what we gain from them. What we gain from them is something that we amalgamate into our own culture, because India is it's a unique kind of country. I won't say funny. See, even McDonald's had to make Macaluticas.
Yeah.
So that is India. We learn that.
Authenticity of India. That's the authenticity.
That is the authenticity, peculiarity, and speciality of
That
India.
India as a country, as a unified entity, it accepted all people from all.
No, made them accept us, Macalutica. We did not accept hamburgers.
Participants, please cooperate.
Please cooperate.
Please
We have to move on with the discussion and we want to give equal chance to everyone. So please.
Okay, thank you so much.
Hello, good morning everybody, I am Uttam Patel. So when it comes to language and purity in language, actually what I feel, language is the most artificial tool in the hands of human beings. It begins with every human being. So one should not be worried about the purity of language. Natural languages are there, but they are just a term for the sake of terms. So language begins with human being and it ends with human being. And the point, that is the amalgamation of the cultures. When Westerners visit India, they try to adopt the food habits of Indians. So once I was in Hyderabad and I saw a foreigner eating puri. The way he ate puri, he had puri, he couldn't eat it the way we eat. Having a bit of it and just dipping it into curry and have a bite like that. He took the puri in his left hand, just pressed it down and filled whatever that vegetable was there, and he had it like something else. So what's there? They are willing to change, and we are just pressing us down under the concepts of nativism and all these things. If we change, then we'll be with the world. If we don't change, so literature, it comes out of culture. If we have change in culture, our literature will be surely different, and it will just withdraw. And one more thing that I would like to share here is that when it comes to caste, class, and all these things, there is a very, very tough time. It's very, very tough to annihilate castes because it's deeply rooted in the minds. Even though we are
trying to change class, but changing the caste
it's very difficult because it's deeply rooted there, and a system worked to make it root deeply. But due to the impact of globalization, I hope someday it will be annihilated, if not completely, partially, because nothing is constant, just change is constant, and we are just having to change. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Uttam Patil. In fact, before we move ahead to next question, I would like to add something. Dr. Kar Kamalini asked a question, and in answer of her question, I would like to add something. The point which in yesterday's presentation and today's discussion I found a bit missing, and that is about the regionalization process. We are here for the seminar on Asian literature and culture. It is the process of regionalization, means what we talk about SAR. So what is exactly the difference? What Dr. Kalkamani asked is about the problems of South Asian nations from other unions. You can think of Arab countries or European Union or some other unions in which you find them more unified, more together. Compared to that, we have some issues and problems here in our own Indian subcontinent. So what exactly is the problem? For example, India is a country, India is a state. But how many, India is one state, India is one country, but how many nations are there? For example, certain politicians say that I am Hindu nationalist. Or a person like Barrister Muhammad Ali Jinnah said that he propounded a theory called two nations theory, on the basis of which India got parted. Later on, Bangladesh also in the liberation war got separated from Pakistan based on lingual issues. So it really makes us seriously think about the difference between state, nation and country. Country is a geographical political entity, but nation is different from country. Nation has to do something with your ethnicity, your culture, your language, and that separates you from. You could be a citizen of a country, but you carry a cultural legacy when it comes to your nation. And the same person, Dr. Kar Kamalini said that what would be the prospect for our South Asian countries. So I would say that, ma'am, it could be even termed as a strength, because each nation in South Asia, it's a complete closed unit. It's a mixture of many cultures. What we say, it's very stereotypical when we say unity in diversity. But if we closely think about it, that it's a mixture of too many cultures, ethnicities, races, and each country is separate, each country is unique, and it's a closed unit of it. What we need, I would just as a part of organizing committee of this seminar, I would take this opportunity to say that the aim of this seminar is this, that the cultural intolerance, the cultural intolerance has to be subsided, the tolerance has to be increased, and that would be the basic purpose of such seminars. And I think that way we can realize our dream of making this South Asian Union better than even European and Arab unions. Thank you.
First of all, let me I'm very much thankful to Dr. Nikam. I'm Swapnil Bhagat. I'm a student of Department of English, University of Pune. And just few days back when I rang up convener, sir, and I asked, I really wanted to participate in this conference. He told me that it's only for PhD students, and still I convinced him that I really want to attend it, and he allowed us to participate. And the most interesting thing is that it's a peak time for us to submit our assignments. Yesterday we had our test and we wrote test at 2 to 4, and then again we came back because we really find this conference very, very worthy and very, very thought-provoking. And something now to my question about South Asian literature and culture. We have South Asian literature as our optional paper in our department. So my question is to you all here, please sitting here. We talk about the assimilation, right? Just now somebody talked about assimilation is the solution for all the problems.
No, I didn't say all the problems.
Yeah, most of the problems, yeah.